Well, hey everyone. We're going to get started now. I'm John Lockhart. Welcome and thanks for being here. We have almost 50 guests, so that's great. We want to thank you for being here. It should be a great evening with Michael. We're going to get started by introducing you to Susan Steen. Susan is our friend and longtime executive vice president at Warner Brothers. So take it away, Susan.
Thank you very much, John. Welcome everyone to our Evening with the Artist, sponsored by the Wagner Ensemble. We're really glad you're here tonight. And what we're going to do is have a 40 to 45-minute panel discussion, which will be followed with the opportunity for questions. You can put your questions in the chat, and then we'll let you know, and you can ask your questions of Michael. So the only thing we'd like you to do is, if you would please, keep yourself on mute during the program. As John just said, I'm Susan Steen. I worked at Warner Brothers, and I'm a longtime lover of the arts in Los Angeles. I'm here with Paul Piazza, music director and conductor, and Jeannine Wagner, the founder of the Wagner Ensemble. Welcome, Jeannine and Paul, and if you could both give us a brief description of yourselves. Let's start with Jeannine.
I am a Los Angeles native, and I went to Immaculate Heart College and I'm at Immaculate Heart High School, Marymount College. I got a master's from Cal State Fullerton, and then I took some graduate courses at USC and UCLA. And so all of my important training has been here in Southern California. And most of you know that my father was a very famous choral conductor. And I had the privilege of singing many concerts with him in concerts and tours. And one of the things that happened as a kind of an unexpected bonus was, after my father had passed, the Roger Wagner Chorale still tours Japan. So, and that is how I met Michael.
Very nice. Very nice. And Paul?
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to ask questions of Michael and get to know everyone here. My name is Paul Piazza, and I also grew up here in the Southland, and I am a conductor and a trumpet player and a singer. And most recently, I served as the music director and conductor of the Westlake Village Symphony. I am also the assistant conductor for the Riverside Philharmonic. And as I said, I'm a singer. And if you grew up singing in any choirs here in Los Angeles or the surrounding areas, you grew up singing in the tradition of, and as part of the legacy of, Roger Wagner. So it's a particular treat for me to be here, to be part of this wonderful evening with Jeannine and with Michael. And before we get to Michael, I just wanted to let him know that, yes, we have two conductors and a vice president from Sony here, but you don't have to worry about this being an audition or an interview for a job or anything like that. This is a friendly audience, so we can't wait to meet Michael.
Thank goodness you said that.
So let's dive in. Paul, Jeannine, and I will ask questions in the fireside chat with our special guest, Michael, who will also be performing tonight. So now joining us from his fireside is Michal Dawson Connorl. But first, I think we've got a fun little clip from Michael's former career or former role on Friends.
Morning's here. Sunshine is here. The sky is clear. The morning's here. The morning's here.
You have to do that. It's Saturday.
Oh, come on. Morning's here. Morning's here. The morning's here. Sunshine is here.
I hate this apartment.
Morning's here. The morning's here. Sunshine is here. The sky is clear. The morning's here. Hey, you're back.
Hey, get into gear.
Breakfast is near. The dark of night has disappeared. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Oh my God.
question from you, shall we? Oh, I don't think we can hear Paul.
Ah, there we go. That got fixed. Excellent. Michael, welcome. We are so excited to meet you, and you must be drinking something delicious over there. Before we go on to your work, please tell us a little bit about your bio. Give us a little bit of a taste of Michael Connor Dawson.
Well, I was born back east. I grew up in Pittsburgh with a bunch of lovely, lovely people like my friend Debbie Testa and some other people. And then I went to Carnegie Mellon and majored in voice and composition. And then I came out to Los Angeles to make my way and find my fortune. And I loved it.
Incredible.
Tell us about how you started composing.
I started composing. I remember this like it was yesterday, although it wasn't. I was in Switzerland. I went to L'École Hindemith in Blonay, Switzerland. And Charlie Chaplin lived at the end of the street. You'd always see this little curmudgeonly man out there. It was bizarre. Dame Joan Sutherland lived next door to him. It was odd and wonderful. And there was this little brown kid who walked by with his Tyrolean hat every day. Hi. Anyway, so I was in this program, this semester program, and I was really involved in Scottish folk songs. So the very first song I ever composed, and I think I was 16 or 17, was "Oh, my love is like a red, red rose." And of course, that's the old Robert Burns piece. And I just put this lovely little, which I still have somewhere, a little accompaniment to that. And so then I got this fascination with the songs of my people from my great-grandmother, and I started arranging those. And so that's my story in composition.
Great. Well, you may not know this, but we shared a teacher. I also spent one summer studying with Blake Stern.
No!
Yes.
I love Blake. He was at Yale. And he wanted me to come to Yale so badly. And my teachers at Carnegie Mellon said to me, "Oh, you don't want to do that." But I did.
Well, Michael, I'm going to step in here. Can you tell us a little bit more? Did you start your musical life as a singer first, or playing piano? Or what was your very first musical instinct, and how did that lead into all the things that you're doing now?
Well, it started off with piano when I was 5 years old, because I had a prolific ear like you, Paul. And so I just started hearing everything and playing it back. And everyone was, "What is he doing? What's this? This is fantastic." And then I realized I was not a very good pianist.
A lot of us singers find that out pretty quickly. Yes.
I cried. I was like, "Dear baby Jesus, what can I do?" My whole life is piano, but I was horrible. So, but all those years of taking piano gave me such a great background for sounds, just the sonority of everything. And then I moved into singing, and I never looked back. With piano, I always made mistakes. With singing, I don't make so many.
Oh, it's such a joy to hear that kind of sentiment. That's what we all want out of music making. And speaking of that desire, it's led you to have a really remarkable career. For those who are watching who may not know you so well, can you kind of lay out for us what is the day-to-day, what is the business of being a soloist, a composer, a vocalist, all of the things that you do? I'm assuming you don't punch into an office space at 9 a.m. somewhere. Tell us what is the business of what you do, so that we have an idea of what your daily life is.
Sometimes, as Jeannine knows, musical ideas hit you at 2 or 3 in the morning. You've crawled into bed and you're all comfortable, taking your vitamins, and then you have to get up because this musical idea has bid you awaken. So I spend a lot of times running down from the second floor to the first floor and tickling the ivories. I have this 1909 Vertigrand Steinway, and it has it's very loud, but rich. And I like that. So that's when I love to compose. When I don't sing so much at 2 or 3 in the morning, but oh yeah, and I get to hear the owls then, because they're wonderful little song, you know. Woo, woo. A lot of my instrumental work, so I always put birds' calls. So that's me, and I sing whenever I can. I wish I had more opportunities, but don't we all wish?
Yeah. Well, speaking of singing, we're going to hear some beautiful work from you a little bit later. I would love to hear, and this might be for Jeannine as well as you. We heard about how you two started working together with the Wagner Ensemble, your collaborations together. I would love to hear from you, Michael, and I wonder if it's the same answer from Jeannine. Your favorite time that you two worked together, that Michael, you got to work with the Wagner Ensemble, and Jeannine, that you got to work with Michael. Is there a single concert or experience that you really sticks out?
Jeannine, may I go first, please?
Sure, absolutely.
I am her biggest fan. I met her, and it's one of those things, I knew it would change my life. I was at a low point. I was singing at a place I didn't want to sing. It was a weekly job. And they were very cruel to me. And this opportunity, I got a call out of the blue. And I got this call from Jeannine Wagner. And I didn't think a moment about it, because, you know, you have those moments of clarity. And I said, this is going to change my life. And I met her, and it actually did change my life. And we had the most fun. We went on tour to Japan and Korea, and the audiences were amazing, but Jeannine and I would have the best times. I remember, you know, she's such a grand figure, and everyone tiptoes around her. I'm just going to be honest for a second. So I remember going up to her on the bus, and I said, Jeannine, this is my odd voice, I love you. We've been friends ever since.
One of the most interesting times I think I spent with Michael is knowing that he had a background in the slave letters and Negro spirituals, especially those that talked about the ones that were written in code. And it turns out that one of my best friends who lives in Japan is also a great fan of Negro spirituals and the whole story of Black people and how they escaped. He is fascinated with the Underground Railroad. And it was absolutely fascinating to see the two of them together, because they just set each other off. Like, did you hear about the yes? And did you hear about the and yes? And have you heard about the, and it was just fascinating to have Michael from the United States and my friend Tom from Japan sharing this information.
So perhaps that makes a good time for us to cut to Michael's first piece that we'll see him perform. I just want to remind everybody that keep putting the questions in chat, and we're going to get to them, and we're going to answer as many as possible. But now the first piece of music that we'd like to see share with you is Motherless Child. And we'll watch this clip together with Michael, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. A long way from
Michael, that was so poignant. It's brought up such emotion. I'm sure we have questions from our panel.
Michael, I think we have so much to talk about and so much from your experience to learn from. But first of all, I would love to know more about that particularly beautiful song you just sang. I feel like a motherless child. That how you said it was so poignant, was so moving with the visuals, with the music itself. I would love to know what your reason for that particular spiritual, and then I'm sure we'll be able to lead on into your incredible work in all these other venues too.
I first have to say the largest hug and shout out to Matthew Ian Welch, who he's a dear colleague of mine. I love this man. Such a talented singer, and he also has this rare talent with the visuals and videography, and he put all that together on a moment's notice to make this more special for all of us. So I just have to thank him. This piece means so much because there are so many people in the Black community who do not have mothers, who do not have fathers. And back in slavery times, it was just a foregone conclusion that someone was going to be sold down the river, literally, to pay for someone's gambling debts, or to be dragged off to another farm to service the master, or to work in the fields, or they may have heard that somebody was a good cook. So all their kids were left there. And so this song was made up by the slaves, for the slaves. It wasn't putting on a performance for anybody. This is a way to maintain sanity. And when I do the arrangements, and I wrote every note of that, as you saw, William Schmidt is the pianist, and the great Dave Nicholson is the clarinetist. And I write it in a 19th century feel because I want to stay as true to the way the slaves might have sung it, even though they didn't have pianos. They didn't have clarinets back then. It was all a cappella. But the feel I'm trying to go for is 19th century, and the pathos of, and some of it sounds a little medieval, I would say, or Renaissance, like an adagio or a dirge.
Right. Well, I think you captured such an authentic spirit there, and I think that's a perfect segue to your work that we are all here to talk about, authentic communication straight from the hearts of these people who suffered through this experience. You compiled an incredible work, the slave letters. Please tell us what are the slave letters? How did you first come up with the idea, and the many forms it took?
Well, yeah, many forms indeed. I was in Germany performing Porgy and Bess. I was Jake and Jim, and I understudied one or the other. And I had a lot of downtime, so I had a couple ideas. And I had a friend who was a book publisher in Germany. And a lot of Germans love the story of the enslaved black man. They might not want to talk about other things in their own backyard, but they love the story of Native Americans and also the African slaves. And so I found all these, a treasure trove of these letters at the Smithsonian, and I edited them because, of course, my ancestors they were not allowed. It was illegal. You'd get a whipping, beating, jail time if you were caught reading a book or trying to learn to read. And anyone teaching you got worse. So the grammar is not perfect, but as you said, Paul, the spirit and the souls of these people vibrate through the letters they wrote once they got free.
Well, speaking of these letters, I mean, I believe that you have one to share with us to read for us here tonight. Is that something that we can ask you to do?
Absolutely. And I've chosen this one. This is an excerpt from the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. And there are many letters I could read, but this one stirs me. And I hope I can get through it. He wrote, "I did not, when I was a slave, understand the deep meaning of those rude and apparently incoherent songs. I was myself in the circle, so that I neither heard nor saw as those without might see and hear. These songs told a tale of woe which was then altogether beyond my feeble comprehension. The slaves would sometimes sing the most pathetic sentiment in the most rapturous tone, and the most rapturous sentiment in the most pathetic tones. They were tones loud, long, and deep. They breathed the prayer and complaint of souls boiling over with the bitterest anguish. I have been utterly astonished since I escaped to the north to find persons who could speak of the singing among slaves as evidence of their contentment and happiness. It is impossible to conceive of a greater mistake. The songs of the slave represent the sorrows of his heart, and he is relieved by them only as an aching heart is relieved by its tears. At least such is my experience.
Wow. Michael, beautiful.
Yeah, his words, every time I sing a song, I think of him and what he had to go through to become a doctor of letters back when he wasn't even considered human.
Well,
So,
it's also incredible how many of the words that he spoke and wrote still have meaning today. If you read the Independence Day speech that he gave, I believe is 1858, one of the most powerful pieces of oratory, and one could hear the sentiment reflecting in the many issues we still face today. We're dealing with so many incredible subjects here. I think following that letter with some more music would just be an incredible joy if all the panelists are okay with that. What do we have next, Susan?
We've got a beautiful song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, which is just gorgeous, and I can't wait to see Michael perform.
Susan, may I say something about this? Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. The masters were very good at indoctrinating the slaves to be good little servants. And if they would just do what they were told, when they died, they would go straight into the arms of Jesus. And so they wouldn't let them read anything in the Bible except the passages that dealt with slaves, be good to your masters. And Ezekiel saw the wheel, and these almost like a childlike faith. Mm-hmm. So that's where this one comes from, snippets that they heard.
That's important context to have. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. If you get there before I do, tell all my friends that I'm coming to.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Do we have
Thank
more
you, Susan.
questions?
Michael, I would love to know, especially because you're so knowledgeable about the historical subject matter here, and you've thought so deeply about this. Is there an emotional toll for you as the performer singing these songs, even above and beyond the normal toll it takes a performer to sing their own works? What is it like for you to sing? Well, when you do your stage production of the Slave Letters, and actually this would be a great time to hear more about that as well.
That is something no one has ever asked me. And I dreaded somebody asking me that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you did, because it's true. For me, it takes a great, because I'm not just singing for vainglory. I'm not just singing to make myself look good or to have people come up to me and say, "Oh, you've got a pretty voice." I do it almost to represent my ancestors, mm-hmm. and to let people realize that they existed. And they'll never know my grandmother Lucille, and they'll never know my great-grandmother Amanda Wiggins. But my great-grandmother Amanda Wiggins' mom was a slave. And so I'm representing them. And I always feel them. I'm always feeling them around me, crowding around me, like the Sixth Sense, when I'm singing these.
Man, well, along those lines, speaking of ancestry, I mean, you're passing down something to another generation of listeners, whether it's in formal education settings or you're educating all of us here tonight. Why is it important to you to make sure that these voices are heard?
Because as a very wise man, Mr. Bronfman always says, he says, we must never forget. We must never forget. Now, he's talking about the Holocaust, but I have my own personal Holocaust to reference. And when we forget, that's when we have the ability to let it happen again. And I know you all know that. So that's in a nutshell, that's where I'm coming from, trying to make little, through the veneer of beauty and hopefully beauty, and I'm trying to let people go away and think, maybe I could be a little nicer. Maybe I could open my paradigm and include people of a darker hue. And so anyway, it's a very, it's a big hope I have.
Absolutely. Well, along those lines, I would love to hear more specifically about the Slave Letters Project and where people can learn more about it, where people can support by purchasing the book. Tell us more about the specifics of the Slave Letters Project as it stands today.
Well, I had this idea. It grew. It started out as a young person's thing, where we would take it to all the schools in Pittsburgh and the school children. And there are some very sad inner city schools in Pittsburgh where it's like a jail. It's on lockdown. And those are real stun guns and those are real pistols. And I remember being at Reisenstein's middle school. And I did hundreds of performances all around the city of the Slave Letters. And in the middle of this, there was a scene between Uncle Tom and Simon Legree from Uncle Tom's Cabin, which some people say helped precipitate the Civil War. And right in the middle of it, it's a very powerful scene. And Uncle Tom is being beaten literally to death, whipped to death, because he will not brutalize a slave girl that Simon Legree, the master, the overseer, tells him to. So we started doing this performance, and all of a sudden I noticed a hush, like a deadly hush, went over the audience. The first time he slapped me in the face, and it was choreographed. I choreographed it so I wouldn't get hurt. The second time he raised his arm to whip me, they rushed the stage and we're going to tear this white actor apart. And I remember it was like somehow nothing bad happened, but it was an uproar because they were so into it. And these were people who were marginalized, thrown off into this horrible school. They'd never seen a movie, I don't think, it was just terrible. And I was able to, through the power of art, say to them, this is exactly what happened in the 1860s when people from the North found out what was really going on in the South. So what I want you to do is sit back in your seats, and I want to let this actor come out again and listen to the scene. He's not going to hurt me. And then at the end, the angel of death comes and takes Uncle Tom away, singing, "He's got the whole world in his hands." And it was really powerful, and they gave us a standing ovation, but there was a dawning of understanding that, oh my gosh, this has been going on for a very long time. And I apologize if I'm long-winded, but
no, it's an incredibly important thing to discuss, how people are receiving these, because these are really heavy things to deal with. And I mean, frankly, as a person not of color, these are experiences that you're sharing through music that are the only way that you can open my eyes or the eyes of audiences who don't have direct experience with this or don't have ancestors who dealt with this. Can you tell us more about what it means to open audiences' eyes for the first time to the realities of this through music?
Well, a lot of them are shocked because slavery is something that happened and it's over. I did a performance, this was the adult version of it, which is much more gritty than the children's version that we did in the high schools and the middle schools. And so I read their letters, no punches are pulled. And one young man who looked like he was an amalgamation between the Proud Boys and any neo-Nazi group came on the Facebook and said, slavery's over, get over it.
Oh.
And after I finished pushing delete, because I don't know how he got to be my friend, I just realized there's a whole bunch of people out there who might think, stop whining about it. You know, the Jews whine so much about the Holocaust. The Armenians whine about the genocide. And you blacks, you just keep whining. I think a lot more whining needs to be done. So that people, not to shame or blame people, but to let us know we're all in this together. We came out of this, just like the Israelites. They came out of 2,000 years of bondage with wonderful songs, with their religion even stronger, with their wonderful, their cuisine. The slaves came out of it with such a great sense of humor. Coming up, and there's I'll say his name, Bill Cosby, there's Chris Rock, there's all these, Richard Pryor, all these great, Wanda Sykes, amazing people. And then we came out with this treasure trove of songs, just like the Jews. We came out with this incredible.
Well, I think it's fascinating, the intersectionality of artistry coming from this experience. And again, I think we're going to probably open up to the rest of the panel to ask some questions, especially about what music making is like these days in general. But before we do that, again, I would love to urge, I ordered my copy of the Slave Letters when I first found out that we would be doing this panel discussion. And I'm sorry to say, Michael, it has not arrived yet, but so hopefully in the next week or so, I'll get my hard copy version of it. But I would encourage everybody out there who wants to dive into this and really experience authentic communication on this to check out Michael's work, because it's incredible. But I wanted to ask, kind of moving to the world we occupy today, Jeannine, Susan, you might have questions for Michael about what it's like to be making music at all nowadays in the age of COVID, and especially as a composer, singer, actor, all those things.
Yes, Michael, what strategies have you employed to keep singing and creating during these strange times?
Well, let me tell you, I have this special friend named Lisbeth Luca, and she is the most incredible person. She loves music almost more than anybody I know, and she's the director of the Repertory Opera Company in Pomona. And she calls me up and says, you know what, Michael, I am having a sidewalk concert or parking lot concert in the parking lot of Pilgrim Church. Would you like to come and share some songs? I love singing outside. So while I'm saying the word yes, I'm running to my car with my shoes in my hand so I can get there. So Lisbeth let me be a part of almost everyone. I think we did 24 weeks or 28 different concerts in a parking lot. And I have grown as an artist from that experience. I love it. God bless her for being such a mensch the way she is and forcing me into it. And I was trying to memorize too much at one point, and I started crying, and I said, she was directing me, and I said, Lisbeth, I think I have early onset, what do you call it? The D word.
Dementia. Not a good sign that you couldn't remember that word.
And so she said, no, you don't. You're just trying to memorize too much. And so, but oh my God, yeah. And when she calls me for a month, whatever's coming up, I'll be out there with the Repertory Opera Company doing it. And I know some of you have watched and seen the pictures on Facebook that were posted. And it's just people honking their horns in the cars. And I've actually done more composition during this year of enforced solitude. And I just sent here it is. This is not a prop. This is where I sit to do my music at night. And this is my arrangement of Go Down Moses, which I've never sung before. And I dedicated this to my dear friends, Bob and Sally Neely, who have been such friends. And so I wasn't going to do this tonight, but I guess the jig is up. So anyway, this is for them, and I can't wait to sing this one day when we all can hear it together.
Well, maybe we should get a sneak peek. Is there any way that can happen? I don't know how comfortable you are singing a cappella, or do you need to wait for the whole work to be done?
All right, let's see. When Israel was in Egypt land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell Pharaoh that my people
To that point, Michael, I want to ask, Jennifer had a question about your favorite kind of music. I mean, is it opera that you prefer over musical theater, or is there a genre that you prefer?
Well, I was thinking about this today, and I came up with probably my favorite song in all the world.
Oh.
And do you mind if I give you a snippet of it?
We'd love to hear that.
And actually, I asked Jeannine Wagner if I could do this during Lent or Easter. And then this little pandemonium ensued. So
yeah.
pandemic put a curtail in it. So, in the spirit of Black History Month, I want to sing this song.
Lovely.
Ich habe genug, mein Trost ist nur allein, dass Jesus mein und ich sein eigen möchte sein. Im Glauben halt ich ihn, da seh ich auch mit Simeon die Freude jenes Lebens schon. Lasst uns mit diesem Manne ziehen. Ach, möchte mich von meines Leibes Ketten der Herr retten. Ach, wäre doch mein Abschied hier mit Freuden sagt, ich will zu dir. Ich habe genug. And that was Cantata number 82 by Johann Sebastian Bach, my favorite piece in the world.
Stunning.
And I'm hoping one day to do it at St. Francis with the string quartet or quintet and the little harpsichord. It has the greatest acoustics, so I'm praying for that.
Well, there are plenty of parking lots available too if this thing goes on much longer. So maybe Jeannine and you guys have to get creative there.
Hey, we have a question from Melinda. She was asking, which I thought was a very pertinent question, how much your early education fueled you? And maybe how much your parents guides fueled you?
You know, my parents are a study in what happens when you are told no too many times and doors are slammed in your faces too many times. My father was this brilliant man who in the 1950s got a Fulbright scholarship because he's a PhD in Romance languages. And he was free and wonderful in Europe. But when he came home and we were walking down the street, people would hurl that lovely, not so lovely word. They would call him boy. And it would just, I would see him become enraged like a crazy person. And the same with my mother. She was a PhD and just didn't get the opportunities that she should have gotten had she, as some of her counterparts, her paler counterparts. I wish I got to sing more or act more. I'm not a victim. I'm just saying I would love to have the opportunities that some of my counterparts had, but we haven't matured to that stage yet. But I'm not dead, and I'm still going to keep forging forward, pushing forward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. I actually have two questions for you, and the same idea, and they split. You bring so much to the table artistically, as a scholar, as an actor. I would love to know how many doors have opened for you because of your amazing versatility. And then maybe, after or before that, I would also love to hear, in your experience, how have your life experiences limited your professional opportunities? What do Black classical musicians have to face in this world professionally that many others don't?
It's my friend Jennifer Shelton and I talk about this all the time. Thank God we're not being recorded, because sometimes it's like Mr. Frederick Douglass says, our souls boil over with the bitterest agony because people will come up to me and they don't want to hear me sing Ich habe genug, Cantata number 82 by Johann Sebastian Bach. They want me to sing, oh, Sing one of those good old Negro spirituals. And that's fine. I love them. This is my life's work. Love them. I know many of my colleagues who are incredible artists, much better than any of their counterparts, and they can't get hired. My instructor, my teacher, my voice teacher at Carnegie Mellon, which is a fine place, looked at me one day, and I didn't know what she was saying. I heard the words. She said, "Oh, Michael, you've got such a beautiful voice. But unfortunately, opera audiences don't want to see a white woman in the arms of a black man. They don't mind seeing a black woman in the arms of a white man. But one of the big racist tropes is that black men, all we want to do is ravage white women." And that's persisted until this day. So it has limited me, but it's gotten me to a place where I can do things I never thought possible, like my gardening, my love of gardening. Maybe that comes from slavery times, maybe not, but I collect these incredibly rare plants that are all on the endangered species registry, and they mostly come from South Africa or Africa proper. And they get one leaf a year, some of them, and then it dies. And then you have to wait for another year to see it come out. And I've gotten gardening shows out of this. I was on Extreme Makeover Home Edition. I was on Susie Quaylo's show, The Surprise Gardener, and 25 biggest gardening mistakes that I was trying to tell people not to make.
I was about to ask, how high on the list were you? I wasn't sure. Well, you know, your versatility is so admirable, and this, because we're coming up soon on time here, I also wanted to get back to Jeannine because of your work together, Michael and Jeannine, I would love to hear from Jeannine what your work together has meant to her in the ensemble. I would actually, on behalf of the audience, would love to also hear a little bit more about the Wagner Ensemble before we wrap up tonight. Jeannine, do you have anything to share about this experience with us?
Well, Michael is an incredibly versatile performer. So while he can do traditional neo-spirituals and traditional Black music incredibly well, he also, as he just demonstrated, can do classic repertoire or folk songs or anything musical. Michael can do it. So he's just an incredible resource to have in my life.
Well,
wonderful.
If I hadn't met you, I would not be as versatile to me. She is
both ways, right?
She is my friend, and I take friendship very seriously. And I'm so grateful to this woman for the Wagner chorale. Just brings so it's like a dash of water in the desert sometimes.
Well, I just want to jump in here, if I may, and say I so appreciate everyone for joining us tonight. We're looking forward to seeing a Wagner ensemble in person when we can all gather safely. So I hope that's sooner than later. And please save the date for the next Meet the Artist Roundtable with former CBS anchor woman Sylvia Lopez and her husband Joe Farello. They'll be hosting together. And also save the date for the 30th anniversary gala and Mother's Day brunch on Sunday, May 11th at 1 p.m. And for more information on the programs, please reach out to www.wagnerensemble.org. And I just want to say, have a great evening. This was so impressive and amazing. And Michael, thank you for sharing your talent.
Susan, what a pleasure. And Paul, Jeannine, I love you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Bravo.
Please donate more to the Wagner Ensemble. It will go to the right place and we can all reap the benefits. So thank you.
So we have one last song of yours, which I think is quite beautiful, and I can't wait to hear it. Hold on.
Keep your hand on the plow. Nora, Nora, let me come in. The doors are locked and the windows pinned. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. Nora says you done lost your track. You can't plow straight and keep a looking back. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. You want to get to heaven? Let me tell you how. Keep your hand on that gospel plow. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Keep your hand on the plow. Keep your hand on the plow.
Bravo, Michael.
That was so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It was terrific.